Hello, bonjour, dear wine enthusiasts. Today we're continuing our exploration of some of the best wine regions in the world, and we're in France at the moment, specifically ahead of your upcoming French wine collection from the club. By now, you're all quite familiar with the famous Rhone wine from the illustrious village of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, a global wine superstar. But next to Chateauneuf is another wine village that shares many similarities with it in style, named Vacqueyras, one of the 18 crus of the Rhone, the top appellations if you wish, which are the highest quality appellations in the area. Along with Chateauneuf-du-Pape, you've got Gigondas, Rasteau, Cote Rotie, Hermitage, Saint-Joseph, etc. Let's explore how good Vacqueyras wines can be, why they're so good, how they compare to Chateauneuf-du-Pape, and I'll tell you some of the names of the best wines you can buy from Vacqueyras too. Let's go. Vacqueyras was granted its own appellation status in 1990 after being part of the Côte du Rhône village for many years. It got its own appellation because it was good, really good. The name Vacqueyras comes from the Latin Vallis Cerquera, meaning Valley of the Oaks, so Vallis Cerquera. The Vacqueyras appellation covers around 1,400 hectares of vineyards, so that's moderately big. I mean, let's say small but a little big, 3,500 acres, located at the foothills of those beautiful dentelles de Montmirail, a mountain range that provides a scenic background to the appellation and a beneficial microclimate. Very important. The soils are mainly composed of clay, some limestone and sand, some gravel and pebbles as well. The climate is Mediterranean with hot and dry summers and mild winters. The strong ongoing Mistral wind, very famous in all the southeastern part of France, which blows from the north, helps to keep the vines really healthy and free of diseases, and it helps concentrate the vines. That's Vacqueyras in its location in short. The main grape variety in Vacqueyras that composes the wine is Grenache, yes, just like in Chateauneuf, which accounts for at least 50% of the blend in red and rosé wines and 40% in white wines. That would be the Grenache Blanc. Grenache gives the wines their richness, fruitiness and warmth. Syrah and Mourvèdre are also very important varieties, adding more color, more structure and complexity to the reds and the rosés. Other permitted varieties include Cinsault, Carignan, Counoise and Vacqueyras for reds and rosés, and Clairette, Bourbolenque, Marsanne, Roussanne and Viognier for the whites. Yields are quite low here, with a maximum legal allowance of 36 hectoliters per hectare for reds and rosés and 40 hectoliters per hectare for whites. As I'm sure you're wondering, how does Vacqueyras compare to Chateauneuf? They're really next door villages? Well, the terroir of Vacqueyras is similar to that of Chateauneuf-du-Pape in some aspects, but also different in some others. Both are close by villages, so the climate is similar, Mediterranean, with a strong influence of Mistral wind, as we said, and similar soil compositions. However, Vacqueyras, being situated on the foothills of those dentelles, the Montmirail mountain range, it is a bit cooler and more varied a microclimate than in the flatlands of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, which really get hammered by a lot of sun. So Vacqueyras has similar terroir, producing elegant and refined Grenache-based wines, but a little more varied and heterogeneous, you could say, and not nearly as hot, resulting in wines that can be a little lighter in body and tannic structure as well. The rules of blending are similar for both regions, Grenache dominant followed by Syrah and Mourvèdre. The wines of Vacqueyras, therefore, are generally a little less powerful and concentrated than those of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, which is not necessarily actually a bad thing. They are characterized by their intensity in spices and aroma, flavors of blackberry fruits, licorice, pepper from the Syrah in particular, some herbal characters, garrigue. They can age really well for up to 10 years or more, but generally a bit less longevity than the wines from Chateauneuf-du-Pape. Often Vacqueyras wines are best drunk between 2 and say 7 years of age. The white wines are quite rare in the appellation. They only represent 2% of the production, so it's quite confidential, but they're crisp, they're floral, they're mineral, notes of peach and apricot and honey from the Grenache Blanc. White wines to be drunk quite young, generally speaking, or aged for up to 5 years. Briefly, Vacqueyras wines can be paired well with a variety of dishes, especially those from the local cuisine or that resemble local cuisine. Some examples would be the grilled meats, rosemary flavored lamb chops, for example, or a roasted duck with olives, grilled sausages with ratatouille, a cheese platter with figs and nuts, a crispy baguette bread to go with it, or even with dessert, why not, like a chocolate and cherries cake, really gooey and delicate. That would be perfect. If you liked the Vacqueyras wine that we selected for you in our French wine collection by Domaine des Ondines, a very small producer we've cherry-picked because the wine is so good and we import it for you, but you want to investigate a little further with more mainstream producers, here are a few famous names for you that you could try. Château Rayas is a legendary estate of Chateauneuf-du-Pape, one of the most famous producers in the world, but they also own an estate and a winery in Vacqueyras called Château des Tours, the Castle of the Towers, where they make a rare and elegant 100% Grenache, the most expensive wine in the Vacqueyras appellation, full stop, selling at $200 plus a bottle. You know, it's not cheap, but it's supposedly the best. The domaine Le Sang des Cailloux, understand the domain of the stone's blood, really strong name, is a small family operation that's steadily becoming iconic, working with biodynamic techniques on superb vineyards just facing the Dentelle de Montmirail. They make rare cuvées of delicious wines, recommended. Look into Domaine Le Clos des Caveaux, another small organic producer making confidential cuvées of very expressive Vacqueyras, not expensive, expressive. And also a local producer named Domaine de la Monardière. That one is quite famous in the appellation as well. For bigger producers that are excellent, you have Montirius, that's a staple name in the Rhone, family-owned winery for 6 generations that have vineyards in different appellations all around the Rhone, including Vacqueyras. Cuvées like their Garrigue or Le Clos are really worth tasting. Many Rhone négociants or wine traders, wine people that buy wine to other producers, also make Vacqueyras wine, some of which can be really interesting, like Maison Arnoux and especially their 1717 cuvée, or Tardieu Laurent Vacqueyras Vieille Vigne, old vines, just to name a few. Many of the Rhone producers produce Vacqueyras too. You see, Vacqueyras is a wine appellation that truly deserves to be discovered, explored, investigated by wine lovers who appreciate quality and diversity. It offers a range of different types of wines, different terroirs. It really reflects the different terroirs, more sand, more pebbles, more limestone, the tradition and the innovation of the producers as well. It's one of these small appellations that is not ultra famous globally, but that for this very reason, well, the wines are interesting, at least I find, because the producers are small, they're rooted in their land, they're passionate about their vineyards. They're quite affordable too. Personally, when I browse around shopping for a wine and I browse the shelves of my local wine shop, well, I often go for a Vacqueyras wine in particular, because I'm virtually never disappointed by the appellation. You get a small producer, so you always learn something about a true story. I much rather have a Vacqueyras wine from a small producer, from a small vineyard in the appellation, than a generic Cote Rôtie wine by a big négociant that blends tons of different wines from all around the region. Look into it, it's really worth it. And here's what you needed to know about Vacqueyras. If you haven't watched it yet, I suggest you watch this video right here comparing Rhone wine style to Bordeaux, quite distinct styles, very fascinating aspect of wine. Or you can always learn ever more about wine, more details with this playlist right here. Take care, and I will see you soon in the wonderful world of wine. Cheers.